Hey, it's Fee here, the vegan health coach, author of the Good Life series and general all-round random grandma. And today I am here to give you the 5 top questions that I get asked about going vegan. These are just probably questions if you are thinking about going vegan or thinking about a plant-based diet. These are questions that maybe you are wanting to ask or wanting to know. So let's rock through them. First one, isn't it hard to go vegan? Or isn't it hard to be a vegan? Well, no, it's not. It's actually dead easy. What is hard is actually making your mind up to do it. And so the first leap of faith or that first few steps, yeah, it can be a bit tricky because you're unsure of the food. So that's the part that is that might be kind of like hard. And so, but once you get past that, and honestly, it probably will only take about a week max, especially if you can get help or you get with like-minded people, then it actually becomes easier. So like-minded people, find them on Facebook. There's some amazing groups out there, vegan groups or plant-based eating groups that will always help you. Meetup.com is another place that you can search and see if there is a vegan group in your area, other vegans in your area, and you can, I know for us we have quite a lot of people actually who are part of our meetup, and we just meet once a month, and we have a potluck dinner, which is really, really cool. But you can meet in cafes and things like that. Go to a cafe that you know sells vegan food, and have a talk to them and just ask them if you know, can they point you in the right direction, because that's where you're going to get your help from. And you know, you see if you can get a buddy, and then you know, if you're not sure on how to cook tofu or something like that, you've got someone to get in touch with. Biggest thing is, don't beat yourself up. So if you do kind of like lapse a little bit, you know, in those early days, then don't worry about it. It's fine. You're just going to be awesome. You're going to do this. You'll rock it. You know, think of it as a transition. Think of it as exciting, as a journey, as an adventure that you're going on. That's number one. Number two, where do you get your protein? This is a big one. Probably the most common question that all vegans get asked, and that is really easy. There's beans, peas, lentils are the 3 main ones that most vegans use as the go-to. You add to that quinoa, you add to that tofu or soy, which is in the form of either tofu or tempeh. Tempeh is actually better, you know, health-wise, I mean, is better for you. And so, you know, there is a lot of protein out there. In fact, we probably have more choices of protein than what a meat eater has, because, you know, they have kind of like they have fish, poultry, and meat, and that's kind of the 3, whereas we actually have quite a range of, you know, different proteins. So it's there. Protein is in all foods. Some foods have more protein than others. That's all. It's plant foods I'm talking about. So your protein is covered as long as you think peas, beans, and lentils. They're awesome. Number 3, I only eat free range. Is that okay? Well, it's better than caged. Better than caged eggs. We're talking eggs here, sorry. We only eat free-range eggs. And I do actually get this a lot. You know, people sort of saying, well, I only ever have free-range eggs. Well, it's like, do you know the farm that they're coming off? Because not all free-range eggs are created equal, shall we say. So, in a commercial situation, you've got to think of it like this. You have got thousands and thousands of hens, which are barned at night, and the barns usually they have doors all the way along, so and the doors are opened in the daytime, and the chickens can go out. But because some of these barns are so huge and massive, and there's just so many chickens in there, most of the chickens don't even go outside. So, but the fact that they've got the doors up means that they technically are free range. Okay, so that's one thing. Secondly, the beginning and the end of a chicken's life. It doesn't matter whether it's free range or caged, it is exactly the same. At the start of a chicken's life, the chicken comes from hatcheries. Now, hatcheries are places that that they don't have mums, like, you know, they're just a whole heap of eggs under lights. They are born, and the chicken, you know, pops out of the egg. And at a day old, they are then sexed to see if they are female or male. If they're female, they go that way. If they're a male, they go that way. So the female goes on to become a layer, a laying hen, and the male gets slid down. 9 times out of 10, it gets slid down a chute and into a grinder, and they just get ground up alive, and they become fish food, meal for other animals, etc. So that's what happens to the male chickens. Yeah, it's actually not a very nice, horrible sight. The chickens actually know, even if they're a day old, and they know, and they're trying to come back up the chute. It's quite horrible to watch. And then the females, they go off, they get raised up a little bit more until they become layers, and then they get sent to either the caged or the free range area. At the end of the life, and you've got to think about this, the farmer has got thousands of hens. He or she does not have the money or the property to keep those hens once they get past their laying. So what happens? They get sent to slaughter. So they are still young chickens, because I stand corrected on this one. I haven't actually looked this up. I've forgotten. I did know it, but I've forgotten it. I think that the laying time frame is about 18 months. It could be 2 years. I'm not sure, but I know it's a really short time frame where the chicken is laying the eggs the most. At the end of that time frame, the chickens are then sent off to slaughter, and a new batch comes in, and they're slaughtered just like all other animals, not in a nice way at all. It's horrible. So that's the free range. So if you still really want to eat eggs, then go see if you can find someone who is local, who actually has chickens and will and who looks after them all their life, and that they stay there all their life. I do know a couple of people who raise chickens like that, and it's really cool to see. Number 4, is it expensive to be a vegan? And this is another common one. People have this idea that it's really expensive to be plant-based. Well, in actual fact, no. And it can, once you kind of like get into it, it's actually a lot cheaper, surprisingly enough. So your beans, peas, lentils, I mean, they're all really quite cheap. And the beauty of them is that you can spin them out, so they actually will make a lot more. They will feed more. The same amount will feed more than what the same amount of meat will. So like a pound of lentils will feed an army, whereas a pound, not an army, but will feed a lot of people, whereas a pound of beef doesn't. So it's actually a lot cheaper. You can buy these things, lentils, peas, etc., in tins, which just makes it pretty much, well, still a little bit cheaper than meat. But if you buy in bulk and start from scratch, it's even way cheaper. They're just like pennies. It's unbelievable. Veggies are veggies in season. So vegetables are exactly the same as a meat eater who wants to have vegetables in their dinners or in their meals. If they go by organic and ones that are not in season, then yes, they're going to be paying the big prices, just like a vegan will. But so the idea is to go to farmers markets and buy your produce there, and always buy produce that's in season. So your fruits and veggies always in season. Number 5, we've evolved to eat meat. Isn't it natural? Well, no. This is a really sort of like curly one. Okay, if you go right back to the hunter-gatherers, we were actually way more gatherers than what we were hunters. We evolved to have the dexterity of our fingers in order to be able to pick berries and, you know, sort of get in and pull up roots and shoots and leaves and etc. etc. So that is why we evolved these. We didn't evolve teeth, and we didn't evolve with claws in order to kill. We actually had to have what do you call it? We actually had to create our killing things like the spears, etc. So in actual fact, we didn't evolve to eat meat in the early days. And then as you come through the centuries, it was only really the wealthy who could afford to have meat. The peasants ate plant-based food unless they went and poached, you know, off the king's land. You know, took their life in their hand and actually poached it. Getting back to the hunter-gatherers, they actually went, they followed, people seem to think that they followed the herds, but in actual fact they followed the plants, what plants were in season and when they were, because the herds were actually following the plants as well. So yeah, and you know, if they made a kill, it lasted for a long time, and of course they couldn't store their meat. A, they were nomadic, so they were moving around, and B, they didn't have refrigeration, or they didn't have the way for actually storing the meat. So yeah, nowadays, like when I was a little girl during the 50s, we had yes, we had meat. I'm in New Zealand, so we were in a primary producing country, and so we did have meat. We didn't have you know, we didn't have the meat. The meal was more plant-based predominant than what it was animal predominant. Okay, so we had it that way around. We didn't have any poultry. Chicken was a real luxury. We would have it maybe once or twice a year if we were lucky. We did have our own hens, and so we had our own eggs. But then factory farming came in, and I think that was in sort of like the 70s and 80s in New Zealand. The idea of the factory farming came in, and that revolutionised how meat was then distributed to the plebs. And so it became, you know, anybody could have chicken any time and beef any time. And of course, that just went on with the burgers and the, you know, the fast food restaurants, etc., etc., etc. So it just exploded from that point, sort of around about the 70s when factory farming came in. That was the big explosion. And now it is now completely tipped the other way, and we've got predominantly meat on the plate and very little vegetable, and that's the sad part. However, there is a shift, and more people are going plant-based. So no, we don't. We haven't evolved to eat meat. All our indigestion, even if you just look at the biology of the human body, we're not really designed as meat eaters or as carnivores. If you compare us to other meat eaters, we're not designed. We're designed as to digest and eat and get all of our nutrition from plants. So that's it. Those are the 5 main top questions that I get asked. Is it hard to be vegan? No, it's dead easy. Especially just get over that first little bit of deciding to go vegan. So it's really easy. Where do you get your protein? Beans, peas, lentils, tofu, quinoa. It's everywhere. Is free-range eggs okay? Not really. Still have the old death at the beginning and at the end. So, yeah, not really. And health-wise, eggs are really not that healthy anyway. Is it expensive to be vegan? Nope, it's actually cheaper. And once you learn the basics, once you learn it all, you'll realize that it is way, way cheaper. And we've evolved to eat meat. No, we haven't. We've actually evolved even more so, I think, to the plant. And we are living in now, in this time. So yes, there are people who do predominantly eat meat, like Mongolia, like the Inuit Indians. Yes, because they can't grow in places that can't grow vegetables. They do have to survive on meat. But, you know, their heart disease is very high, and it tells that they don't really have a great, you know, length of lifespan. But, yeah, there's other things involved in that as well, not just the meat. So we really should be herbivores. Hopefully that has answered any questions that you may have had, and that you will give plant-based eating a try. If you need help, you go online, look in the groups, see if you can find them online. If not, just reach out and ask for, you know, help from me. I'm happy to give you a hand. I do have a free you know, half hour with me on a one-on-one live call. So, you know, if you want to jump on board one of those, that's really cool. Just flick through. There'll be a link down the bottom. Or if you just want to just ask me a question, put it in the comments, and we're good to go. So until next time, make sure you have great food. Try and make it healthy and plant-based, even better still, and be compassionate to all animals, including humans. And I will see you again soon. Bye for now.